to Tammy Strong. I believe she was able to email that copy out to everyone on the call. And if you didn't get it, we'll make sure you get it at the end of the call. Again, my name is Wade Dameron. I'm the Director of Risk Management Services and have been with the state since August 1st, 2014. So just hit the old 1 year mark, and appreciate you all taking the time out of your busy schedule to jump on with us today. We don't think we'll go the full 2 hours, so we'll give you back some time. But there's a ton of information we'd like to cover with you, and look forward to your feedback. During the presentation, if you want to jump in there and go into the chat and send us a question, we'll try to address it. We'll save some time at the end to throw out a question and answer session. And feel free to take your involvement and your thoughts and ideas throughout the presentation. So thank you for your time. I'm going to share at this moment, pick up the right screen, hopefully. And I hope that you're seeing in front of you now the slide that says Town Hall. We're going to touch on a couple of items. We're going to get started by just kind of breezing through who we are. You guys know a lot of this. The next few slides are going to be who we are, what we do, and that kind of stuff, who we work with. And hopefully you've had a chance to see it prior to this presentation. But I'm going to ask the folks that are available if they can just pop on camera so you can put a smiling face with a name. That would be very helpful. We're going to start with our Assistant Director and Claim Counsel, Ms. Susan Setterstrom.
I don't see that she's on yet, Wade.
We're going to jump to Mr. Jerome Wright, our Liability Program Director.
Hello, everyone.
We have Kim Oliver, our Workers' Compensation Program Director.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Ann Thompson is our Property Program Officer.
Good afternoon, everybody.
We also have with us Ms. Marcelina Scott. Marcelina is our Work Comp Program Manager. She works with Kim on a routine basis and is also involved in our indemnification program.
Hello, everyone.
Then we're going to jump over real quick to the people behind the scenes that do all the operational work and make the program director's job simpler with all the efforts that they bring to the table. So I'm going to jump in to introduce you to our Business Operations Manager, Ms. Tammy Strong. Nayokia Partridge is our admin support and guru who handles the image room. She works with the RICO contract and makes sure that those folks are touching all the paper that comes into our program to help us attempt to be paperless. We also have customer service rep, Mr. Lee McDaniel. Lee works with all of the programs. He touches a lot of the stuff that happens within the work comp program. Nidra Westmoreland is our administrative assistant who, again, works with a lot of the different programs. She touches property and liability on a pretty routine basis. Bottom, we have Rashida Harris. Rashida is a property claims adjuster that spends time working with Miss Ann and handling all of our property programs.
Hello, everyone.
Property claims.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Rashida. And then we're going to step into our loss control unit. We have some folks that have been with us forever, and we have some new faces. We've been fortunate to be able to expand our loss control reps over the past few months, and you'll hear me talk about we have a couple of additional openings. So we have 5 people that have the title of loss control safety officer, and we have 2 operations analysts. Again, we're looking to add 1 more officer and 1 more analyst over the coming months. But I'm going to start with our most tenured gentleman, Mr. C.G. Lawrence.
Hello, everyone. Afternoon. I see we have Vicky and Hiram on as well, so you may want to say hello so everybody see their faces. Thanks for attending.
Thank you, CG. Next, Hiram LeGroom. We have Todd Crisp.
Todd's traveling today.
Thank you. Vicky Medlock.
Afternoon, all.
And our most recent hire, Mr. Shane Barrow. So make sure you know those folks and get a chance to find out exactly which one handles your agency's business. We'll talk about that a little later. And then the people that work behind those folks to make sure that their schedules are right and that their reports are right. We have Miss Inyota Reed. And the newest is Shannon Majid. So we're excited about the loss control and looking forward to that program continuing to expand and being a resource for you at the agency level as much as you necessarily can utilize. And then we get to some of the fun of IT, our information systems team that is specific to risk management is a strong team with folks who have been here for a long time. I'm going to start with Mr. Derek Wade, Mr. Tim White. Faith Goodman is a contractor who's been with us a couple of different times and is very intimately involved in all of our systems. Mr. Dan Osmond. Dan's a retiree, sucker, bringer, backer, worker that we lean on quite a bit and appreciate Dan. And then Rajiv Azad is a business analyst within DOAS IT that also reports to us within the risk component. So we're tickled to have Rajiv. So we have a wonderful set of IT professionals that can talk to you about your claims and how you can see the claims within the different systems that we make available. You're going to hear us talk about the IVOS platform, the IRM, which is Integrated Risk Management, which used to be the Risk Console platform. We'll speak to all of that here in a few slides. I'm going to kind of just quickly tell you that we do a lot. You guys are aware of it. We can't do any of it without you. But our sole purpose is to provide you with insurance, workers' comp, liability, and property insurance. We've got some other programs if you read through these boxes that we provide. And then in the middle section, I would tell you our main focus is to handle your claims. We get involved in administering, adjudicating, and helping you resolve claims. So if you have any questions about your claims, you can contact any of the people within our program and we can help you understand what your claims are and help you through our IT systems take a look at them. And then the bottom section, our third piece, is we provide you with premiums that are associated with all of these coverages, and we appreciate you paying those bills on a timely basis and look forward to continuing that. And then the last comment I'll make is loss control. Loss control is the resource that helps you pull all this together, understand your claims, understand your risk, and hopefully help you figure out ways to get it done and be safe about doing so. Who we serve, mainly we serve you guys. People on this call are individuals that we work with routinely, right? You may wear different hats. You might touch workers' comp, property, liability, but you are what we consider a risk coordinator. So we have you in our system under one of the programs to be a contact. And if you have this email come to you and you forward it to someone else, please share with us who those people are. If there are individuals that we don't have in our system that touch risk management or one of the programs, property safety, we're happy to add them so that they are involved as we go forward in the future with providing you resources, having meetings, sending out loss control notices. So we want to include all those folks in who we serve. We also serve the public. You're going to see us talk about a couple of programs that are available to not only state agencies and entities and authorities, but we serve the municipal players as well. So the cities and counties, there are a couple of programs that we provide that they can utilize. And then you all know it, we're involved in the public every day. There's always someone calling, asking about a claim or how to file a claim or a question that has something to do with the services that you're providing. So those, and it's a huge group, are individuals that we serve, and we appreciate the opportunity to do so on a daily basis. I'm going to get out of the way and ask the brains on the call, the program directors and the loss control folks, to jump in and take these individual slides. So I'm going to ask Program Director Kim Oliver to talk to you about the workers' comp program. Kim?
Yep. Thank you, Wade. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining this town hall today. It's appreciated. I want to just go over a couple things new in workers' compensation, or ongoing rather, is our settlement project. We have been appropriated some funds by the Office of Planning and Budget to pursue a second round of settlements, which we are currently underway. We have 327 claims that have been submitted for consideration. Of those, 240 have been finalized at almost $35 million to date. We have 30 claims that are not going to be settled, and we have 57 that are currently in negotiations that average or total about $11 million. So we are rocking and rolling with the settlements. I would just ask if you have any settlements or claims that are still open on your agency's desk that you would like to get rid of, reach out to us. We'll see if we can't throw that into the settlement pot. Just know that if somebody does accept a settlement with the state of Georgia, they are going to have to resign from their position with the state. So if you've got somebody holding on for retirement, that's fine. They'll probably just have to wait it out. Okay. Lastly, we have finished our return to work strategic plan as far as the pilot segment of that is concerned, and we piloted with Department of Corrections, Department of Juvenile Justice, and DBHDD. We had very good results from that pilot program with really educating the physicians, making them understand what kind of restrictions we're looking for. Specifically, they need to stick to the physical restrictions that that person is capable of doing versus telling us what shift they might be able to work and or what their work environment needs to look like. We've asked them to kind of step aside and let the agency and the claims team take a look at that environment and let us place them. As long as we know what the physical restrictions are, we can identify that with everybody involved at the job site. So once we finished the pilot segment, we moved on to trying to figure out how we're going to affect, an impact. And that's going to be on the claims that are current, where we have an authorized treating physician that took somebody out of work and or placed them on modified duty restrictions. The adjusters are now referring those claims over to Amerisys, who is our business partner in the return to work program. Miss Gina Johnson heads up that piece of it with her return to work specialist. There are 6 specialists across the state of Georgia that are geographically positioned so that we could be sure to be boots on the ground with every agency within every region of Georgia. So you might, if you're really spread out as an agency, you're potentially going to be working with a couple different return to work specialists. But those referrals are being made in an effort to coordinate the modified duty return with the specific agency. And if they're on an out of work status, then we're looking to determine what can we expect the doctor to return them to as far as a modified duty capacity once they're able to do that. The background of these return to work specialists are occupational therapists. We have some physical therapists, and we also have some vocational rehabilitation experts as part of this team. So if you have maybe a newer work comp injury where they've been given work restrictions and you're struggling with how to place that person, please reach out to us. We're happy to assist and do everything we can to get those folks back to work. And so that being said, it does affect all agencies. You might not have been able to have a formal introduction done by DOAS to let you know that this return to work project is ongoing as part of a governor initiated kind of strategic plan that we were tasked with. So if you are blindsided by a return to work specialist contacting you, please let us know. We're trying to do the heavy lifting for you so that we can, make it easier on your end to take that piece away from another responsibility that you might have. Did I cover that all, Wade? I think that's
Yes,
all I
ma'am.
have.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your commentary. And I'd like to say, Kim, come on screen for a minute. If you see Kim in the facility for any reason, reach out, make sure you speak to her. She's doing a lot of these trips. She's been spending a ton of time with the folks from Amerisys and working really hard to make sure that our work comp program is in a place that we can facilitate and handle lost time and get folks back to work throughout the coming years. So Kim, thank you. Thank you all. All right.
Yep,
I'm going to
thank you.
jump right. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to jump to the next program. If I can get my mouse in the right spot. And we're going to talk a little bit about liability. So Jerome, Susan, either you available to talk
Yeah,
about
I'm
some of the
available, Wade.
liability? All right, Jerome.
Yep,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
available. Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. Jerome Wright. Some of you may have corresponded with me at some time or two regarding some claims and or information about liability insurance that the state provides for all its state agencies. I do want to let everyone know that claims have not slowed down for the liability program. Liability program handles all sorts of claims, ranging from a slip and fall, automobile accident, to even a death inside one of the Georgia state prisons. So that just goes to show you the gambit of claims that the liability program handles. And we see some claims a lot from some agencies, a little from others, but every claim we receive is taken just as diligently as any other claim. So as the PowerPoint slide shows here, as far as budget impacts, we had an increase in premium to $60 million for FY25. That increase in premium was set because for the past few years, the premiums have stayed flat. And I think that OPB has tried to effectively have us deal with the flat premiums, but we have realized that the increase in claims also increase the value of the claims. And when the value of the claims go up, that means 9 times out of 10, we have to end up paying more money. Um, I am tasked with going to all mediations and all trials. So I do try my best to save the taxpayer some dollars when I do settle these claims, but there has been a significant increase in the amount of money we've paid out and the volume of claims we've received. So the premium has gone up. We did receive an appropriation of funds from the governor, which we are thankful for, that is allowing us to have additional funding to settle these claims. So we are trying to put together a project where we are contacting some of the agencies that have the higher volume and higher value claims and talk to them about some of the claims that we probably need to settle sooner than later. Some of you guys have been part of that. We're going to continue to reach out to agencies and set up calls or teams calls to talk about the claims that are problematic claims, the claims that keep me up at night and may keep some of you guys up at night, so we can get those claims handled. I think that's kind of about it. Maybe Susan or Wade has something else to offer. I don't really deal with the indemnification program. Susan does, so she'll be able to talk to that.
Yeah, Jerome, I'm going to say the same thing. I want you on the screen for 2 minutes. So Jerome's being really nice. We have a ton of claims. There are probably, 2,000 new lawsuits and anti-litem notices that he deals with every year. We have a contract with a third-party administrator that Jerome oversees, that they are the people that actually adjust the claims. But this is an opportunity for you, as you hear us talk about IT resources today, to go into our IT platforms, IRM, IVOS, and see the data around your claims. Jerome can help you and direct you to who your adjuster might be, but he's a great resource as well. And in a lot of these scenarios, we're working with your legal counsel. If you're an agency that has an in-house legal counsel, we're working with those folks. If you don't have legal counsel, but stuff's coming to you as the risk management coordinator, then you probably met some of these folks. But we want to make sure that you have Jerome's name and contact to be able to reach out to Jerome should you get a lawsuit, should you get a request for a claim, and you're just not sure where it should land. Let it land with Jerome and I. So make sure you are able to contact Jerome. Jerome, thank you.
Thank you.
And he's right. We're going to talk about in some later slides how the premiums have changed, how the claims have changed, and what that means to us as a state with our outstanding liability that we have to account for with OPB each year. And we've been fortunate to get some appropriated dollars that are allowing us to talk to some of the larger agencies. You're going to hear me talk about in a little bit later slides. There's two different levels of our program. We have one level that's called the State Tort Claims Act agreement, where there's a state statute that limits our liability. It says that we're going to give up sovereign immunity to a certain limit. So we might pay $1 million for a claim under that program. But then there are federal cases that involve employment practices, civil rights cases, First Amendment cases, where because it is a federal statute that we have supposedly breached, there are no caps. So there's no limit to what we can pay. And those are the cases that Jerome talks about keep us up at night. So we'll get into some of that in a moment as well. But make sure that you get a chance to reach out to talk to Jerome and learn more about your claims, because if you're bored, just call us any day. Call us on any Wednesday and we can talk to you about large cases that we're reviewing. So Jerome, I'm going to say to you, I'll cover indemnification and the PTSD components of this slide. We also provide a claim. It's probably a program. That's the one program that we make available to the local communities and the local municipalities. So it's the cities and counties and governments. And it has to do with a disability or a life insurance product that's made available to people that are in lights and sirens type jobs. So your firefighters, your EMTs, police officers, correctional facilities, state troopers, all of those folks are under this indemnification program. And we've been working really hard. Susan and her team, Marcelina Scott, have worked to continue to market this program. It's on our website, but it allows an individual who was killed during the line of duty or injured and has a disability or is injured and has a short-term disability that also can tie into their work comp claim to file a claim with the state and receive benefits. There's also a teacher's indemnification. So if a K through 12 teacher is injured at work, if they're killed at work, if they're attacked at work, this program may provide them some benefits. So it's been around a long time. We've worked hard the past few years to market it more and make sure that the local communities are aware of it and that their HR directors for firefighters and police associations are aware of it. We've had some administrative changes. You can imagine that program is very strictly laid out in statute, but when COVID came through, we had deaths that were associated to COVID that didn't necessarily fit right into the statute. The statute is clear about being killed in the line of duty based on the activity of a perpetrator or something like that. Well, COVID wasn't necessarily that, but it created a scenario where we were getting cases and having to evaluate them under this program. So during that process, we changed some of the administrative processes. This program used to be one where an appeal, if we denied a case, an individual had the ability to appeal that decision to what was called the Indemnification Commission. It was a commission that was set up by the governor's office and chaired by the governor's office. It kind of became a timely event, a time-consuming event because of all the COVID cases. And so we made some recommendations that tracked along with what we do in our state purchasing division, and that is to have an administrative process that comes through our commissioner. So DOAS commissioner sits on the committee that reviews all of the approvals and denials now. So that minor change has been in effect. And what we're seeing is the number of cases are beginning to slow down because COVID's kind of passed. But it's a important program that we pay attention to the news on a daily basis, because as you all understand, we hear about officer shootings or school shootings or teacher injuries through the news. So we monitor a lot of those services to make sure that our team can reach out to those local communities and say, there's a resource, make sure you're aware of it and file a claim through that program. And then similarly, the last one may be one that you're aware of or you may not be aware of. It's called the PTSD program. In the legislature this last year, there was an act called the Ashley Wilson Act. She was a first responder that was injured during her job, and what she had was post-traumatic stress, that diagnosis. And so there's been work for several years about making that PTSD diagnosis covered under some type of insurance program. And so the legislation, House Bill 451 that passed this year, says state agencies have to provide an insurance product for people that are first responders who might have a PTSD claim. And that first responder definition is laid out in the statute. There are 11 different buckets of people who are considered first responders. And so this program is to be provided by the state. So DOAS is going to administer it from the standpoint that we're going to work with your agencies to figure out your head count for people in these definitions. It will be full-time, part-time, and volunteer folks who are first responders. And then we need to take that head count and buy a policy for those individuals. That premium is going to be $155 per year, not monthly, but per year. But when we do the math and we think that there are probably somewhere a little more than 11,000 first responders as defined by the statute, you're talking about $1.65 million each year. So we're going to be working with your folks to make sure that we get those head counts right. We'll have information coming out to you via email. We'll have all of this information up on the website, because The bill passed July 1, 24, and the benefit has to be available to those employees and purchased by January 1st. That gap, that reasoning is, let's say you had a first responder who was involved in some kind of event in July of 24, and they have a PTSD diagnosis that shows up in September of 24. This law says we will accept that claim as of 1/1/25 and make available insurance. So the product itself is going to be underwritten by a carrier called MetLife. MetLife is a huge disability carrier, and the benefit's going to provide a one-time diagnosis fee of like $3,000. It's called a lifetime benefit. And then if the person is out of work and they are going through disability and treatment for PTSD, then there's an income replacement component as well. So there'll be a lot of information coming out over the next few weeks posted to the website to help you and your agencies get your hands around what this exposure is for your agency. DPH, Public Health, is deeply involved in posting information on this program as well. And so we'll help you all understand this program and make sure it's in place in January. Next, I'm going to jump to the property program. I'm going to get out of your way and ask Miss Ann Thompson if she can come on and talk to you about the property program. Ann?
Thanks, Wade. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Ann Thompson. I am the State Property Program Officer. If you filed any property claims within the last, almost 6 years, then you've probably corresponded with me at some point. I'm just going to jump into one of the most important projects that we're working on in the property program, and that's the Centuris appraisal. By now, many of you should have received a communication from us regarding the Centuris appraisals. Centuris, formerly known as Asset Works, will be appraising every state building over the next 5 years. This contract went into place in July 2023, and it runs through 2028. We have boots on the ground in January of 2024 to kick off this project. The appraisals are being conducted by 5 phases around the state. These are in geographical regions. Phase 1, again, that started in January 2024 and it ran until May 2024. That was the Atlanta metro area. So that was our Northwest counties. We are currently in Phase 2. Phase 2 is our Southeast Georgia counties. This phase started last month and it runs through 2025. These counties are displayed on the PowerPoint screen. For those of you that are attending this meeting by phone, I will read those counties off to you. The counties in Phase 2 are Appling, Atkinson, Bacon, Brantley, Bryan, Bullock, Burke, Camden, Candler, Charlton, Chatham, Clinch, Coffee, Eccles, Effingham, Emmanuel, Evans, Glenn, Jeff Davis, Jefferson, Jenkins, Lanier, Liberty, Long, McIntosh, Montgomery, Pierce, Screven, Tatnall, Toombs, Trutland, Ware, Wayne, and Willard. If your agency is in any of those counties, please expect to have the appraisers on your agency's premises within the next 6 months. Also, if your agency is in any of these counties and you have not received any communication from us about this project, please email me after this presentation so I can make sure that you get that information. Now, before they're coming out to your agency location, the Centuris appraiser is going to contact your agency. They'll discuss the project scope and the time frames. They'll discuss the building schedule, how many buildings that they have listed for your agency in those counties, and they'll discuss the accessibility to those buildings and answer any of the questions that you may have. You are not obligated to tour your facilities with them. However, you are welcome to join them as they will need to get in certain areas such as your breaker rooms and various areas throughout your properties. Keep in mind, they'll discuss all this when they contact you to set the schedule to come out. Once Centuris completes their appraisals, your agency will have an opportunity to review the property valuations. If your agency has any special requirements to access the premises, I know that there are some agencies that require background checks, certain credentials. Please email me those requirements so that we can ensure that the appraisers have completed the necessary paperwork so that they can assess your sites. Our goal with this appraisal project is to reduce the annual administrative burden for your agencies, and we want to ensure that your agencies are properly valued. Now, while this project is underway, you'll still want to update your valuations on BLIP going to say that again because that has been a hot topic for some reason. Please still update your valuations on Blip. Blip is open year round, so you can log on at any time and update those valuations. If you have any questions about it, feel free to drop it in the chat or send me an email. Other than that, I will send it back to you, Wade.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Great work. And again, Ann is being kind. This is a huge undertaking, and it's good that we finished phase one. So what we're trying to do with that phase one data is review it. Ann and I are going through it. We're going to be looking at the reports, and we want to get those in your hands. We also want to be able to see what those values look like. Were they underreported? Were they overreported? We're hoping that they're really close because you guys have done a good job working with Ann year in and year out updating Blip. But before we slog anything into Blip, we want to review those values with you, with the State Properties Commission, to make sure that we're all in agreement, and then get them into Blip. So, we're getting close enough to the end of the year that you'll be getting communications from Ann in January or December or January about the next year's phase for our insurance renewal process. So we're going to continue to ask you to monitor and update Blip, but we're going to get through that point with the phase one agencies pretty soon to be able to share those reports with you and those values. And then we're moving rapidly into phase two. As Ann pointed out, CenturyRisk is sending those emails. So if you see something from those folks, shout at us if you have questions. If you hadn't gotten anything and you have operations in the counties that she rattled off, then let us know. The name on those emails is probably going to be Chad Sedlacek. Chad Sedlacek. I'll put that in the chat. If you've seen anything from him, don't chunk it. If you're not getting anything, check your spam folders, but let us know, and Ann's happy to help you in tracking that information down. And we appreciate your efforts in being available for these folks. It's a huge undertaking, but it's an undertaking that we've never had the opportunity to complete, so we're excited about it and hope that it has a good impact on what we do within our property program. So thank you all for that. Real quick, I'm going to touch on the next slide and say loss control. Loss control is your friend. Our job in risk management is to tell you yes, not to tell you no. We're designed to help you evaluate your exposures, your risks, and figure out a way for you to do and deliver your vision and your agency's mission on a daily basis. These are the folks that can do that with you and for you, and that's the loss control team. CG Lawrence is going to take these slides. I appreciate that, CG.
Okay, we got some new staff. We got Shane Barrow and Shannon McGee from Shane's from Forestry and Shannon's from DOT. So we'll be getting them up to speed. They just started this month. We also have still looking for two more for an analyst and for a loss control officer. Basically, we're working to get you out of all this work of dealing with the claims and all that cost, so that if it helps you avoid a claim, it helps us with that cost too. So we're trying to work with that and with you to avoid those things. We provide training, the various safety training. The Safety National Insurance provides us a loss learning management system for free. Choose to contact me if you don't have access to that. There's about 150 different safety training programs in that. I can coordinate the AAA training for the state. We have about 100 to 120 instructors in the state. If you want AAA training, send me a note. We also do first aid and CPR training. We just actually finished up some this week down at Macon State, or Middle Georgia State. So, if we can help you with training to avoid some of these things, that's what our aim is at, to get you out of all this work of putting in the claims and tracking the numbers and those kind of things. As part of that is the online assessment. You should have gotten notification for that. We're trying to get those in by next week. We had some glitches in there, and we're giving extensions. And if you have an issue with that, again, give us a call. Those are aimed at, just comparing, what your agency is doing to everybody else's, making sure that you have the programs in place to control the hazards you know of. If you don't, you don't have any controls in place, then we're going to continue to have accidents, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Make sure you do know your loss control contact. We've been changing that around a little bit, going more to a regional model versus just an agency model. but it really doesn't matter if you have a question. Give me a call and I'll get you the right person. But you should know your contact, and hopefully with a few more, we'll be getting down a little bit lower. You know, just for years, it was just Hiram and myself. And so the so we couldn't get down to everybody, and now we're getting down a little bit further into the weeds, and want to continue to do that and help you on the road to improve your safety program and get your numbers down, so we don't have to report on them. So those kind of things. So I think that's all the loss control program in a nutshell. If you need anything else, just give me a call. Thanks.
Thank you, CG. Yeah, it's a critical piece of our program that we want it to be a critical piece of your program, and that is safety and loss control. I go to the OPB every year and say, here's what we're spending. Can I get more money? And rightfully so, they say to me, well, what are you guys doing? How are you helping the agencies? Are you helping them understand their losses? Are you helping them identify them? Are you helping them resolve them? And so these loss control folks are specialty people. CG is the current president of the American Society of Safety Professionals. He's got a ton of experience. Hiram, same thing. He's involved in the AAA training, Smith training. They have resources that are available to you at every turn. CPR training, you can get that through several of these folks. And Vicky and Todd came from DOT and worked with risk management for years. They're great resources. Shane's coming out of the Forestry Commission. So I tell you that to say they've got agency experience and they've got risk management, loss control experience as well. So utilize those folks. And then if you ever have any questions about where they're at and what they're doing, you can reach out to Inyota or Shannon. Those are the folks that are helping them make sure that everything that they're sending out, requests that they're looking for, recommendations that they're making are making their way back into the system. And so utilize that resource. What we hope to continue to do is expand that staff. If you know of somebody that might be interested in either of those positions, shout at us, let us know. We'd love to have somebody come aboard. We'd love to have somebody with that loss control background, but also the state agency background as well. So thank you, CG, and all the folks that are loss control for doing the job that you guys do. I'm going to jump to technology. We're talking about dollars spent and claims and all that fun stuff. And so how do you know about it? Do you have a seat in the platforms that we make available? I hope so. And if you don't, you need to get one. You can reach out to us. There's a process. There's a form that you can complete and send in to either Mr. Tim White or Inyota Reed. And those are the people that will say, you know, tell me the program you're looking at. Are you a work comp person? Are you interested in property? And we can get you access to the platforms that Tim is going to talk about. So, Mr. Tim White.
Yes, sir. So I just kind of want to bumper off of what CG was talking about in the loss control program. The surveys that are going right now, that's probably the hottest issue that everybody has if you're looking at risk. And I want to share my screen. Hopefully I can share the correct one. And hopefully everybody is seeing a picture of IRM right now. This is the overview when you come into the program, and if you don't have an access to this program, please get with Inyota, get with me, get with anybody that is in IT, and we'll get you the form to get filled out and get a seat license on this. This is where you can come in and you can take a look at anything that has been put in from your agency as far as risk goes. Here's the landing page, and here's kind of like a bunch of widgets that are going to show up first. Right here, you've got a report page that you can use for digital that will let you report a auto liability claim, an APD claim, or a general liability claim. We can't do workers' comp right now. That still has to go through the other system, but for right now, we can do those three through this. These three little widgets right here are kind of like your review widgets. That's why they've got the little binoculars on them. It'll let you take a look at claims that have been reported for the last 90 days. And again, this is for your agency specific. So if you're a bigger agency where you've got different areas underneath you, you'll be able to see those areas. But if you're a centralized agency, you'll just be seeing your stuff all together. You can see claims that are currently open here and claims that have been closed in the last 90 days. We're going to skip over these two right here and go to these next down. Generating a loss run. If you've got people in your organization, such as a CFO or someone up the ladder that needs to see numbers, this would be the place to let them see numbers. You can go in here and you'll have a bunch of choices that can be made. You can check your insurance type, your claimant types, which gives you all different choices over here. You can choose close, open, or reopen. You can use your loss date for the actual event, or you can use the report date. That will give you a little sense of when it was that the claim happened as opposed to when it was reported. This one here, I'm signed in under the Board of Regents and Department of Transportation right now, but you would only see your organization right here and then anything that's underneath it, sub locations there. And then you can generate a loss run, which will give you a whole bunch of information that you can distill down into an Excel spreadsheet and forward off to whoever needs to see it. You can have the ability to search a claim. If you have first name, last name, if you have a claim number, then you can go there and take a look at it. Skipping back to these two little widgets right here, this one here that says deprecated, what you can do there, it's the original widget page that Dan had built, which does not run very well. It was built off of the old system, the old risk console system, and a lot of the links are broken. So we're going to get rid of that one. If you've got anything that's built off of it, or if you do reports that you add these to, we're going to try to phase this out so that things get easier. When we go back and take a look at the new one, which is here. It takes just a second. It gives you a whole lot of information in a very small space and area. It gives you all your lines of business across the top right here. It gives you costing trends, which are the next set of little graphs. And then running down here a little bit, it gives you the causes, both the number of claims, the incurred dollars and the paid dollars. And then at the bottom, their lag time, which shows from the time the event occurred to the time it was reported. The cause summary here, this a little bit is going to be changing. It's a little stuffy, a little bit crowded. So we're going to change that just a little bit. And then this gives you your claims closed by fiscal year. The good thing about this one, this particular dashboard, is each one of these tabs here generate just for that tab. So what you're seeing right here is just for liability. What you're seeing here is just for auto liability. What you're seeing here is for just APD or auto physical damage. So it's very specific. You can also drill through on each and any one of these pieces. Doesn't matter what it is. You would right click on it and look for the little dashboard dial right there. And it will give you a distill of all of those claims that you were just looking at for that particular year. Close that. Also, I wanted to go through real quick the loss control survey. Up in the top left-hand corner, everybody has a drop-down box. But if you click on the one that says Comprehensive Loss Control Program, and the very first widget that you see there is complete a CLCP self-evaluation. Click on that. And then if you had a survey assigned to you, this was where you would see it, and it would come up right here. Of course, I'm not in the survey right now, so I don't have anything assigned to me, but you would have your name, your title, and when it was sent out to you. You would click on that and it would take you right into the survey. If you don't have one of those, please go ahead and send us a note. And this campaign has been challenging. It's new to all of us, but we're working through it, and there are going to be some burps, but we are doing our best to get everybody completed so that we can get the process down and it'll run a whole lot smoother next time. And I believe, Wade, that's about it for an IRM overview.
Can I add one thing? I
Yes,
forgot
sir.
earlier
Yes,
today,
sir.
Tim, you and I didn't talk about it. Almost everything that's in here is documented in training. We didn't mention the train tab. Tim, if you go up to dashboards at the top, DOAS training has got a series of videos. You notice they're all short, minute, 2 minute, something like this. There's one that's 8 and 6 minutes. Very short videos that show you how to use just about everything that's on here. The one thing that's not in the video is how to use that new dashboard. We need to work on getting that part of the training updated. But if you want to learn how to use this thing, here's a good place to start. And certainly ask us questions. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, sir.
Absolutely. Appreciate your input. And I hope what you heard during this presentation was there's a ton of resources for you within the tool. So if you don't have a seat or you have no clue what we're talking about, reach out to Tim and Inyota and ask for that seat so we can get you involved. The training's there. We can schedule a time to sit down and go through additional training with you. But you see a basis of what the widgets can be. We can build out additional ones for you. You need to tell us what you're looking at. We're trying to share with you some basics tools, but if you need something specific, we can build it for you. We can work toward that. So that would be IRM and the claims side of things. You also heard us talk about digital, which is claims reporting. So if you've got a property claim, an APD claim, a general liability claim, utilize it. Try that tool. It's simple. It'll allow you to report the claim and then go in and see it in eyeballs. So make sure you're doing that. And then the final piece, which is critical for us, is that online assessment tool. We kind of changed a little bit of how we sent it out this year. The emails that came to you for this year's what we call campaign would have come from Inyota Reed. And so if you're just now hearing about the online assessment and the fact that the deadline is coming up, maybe you didn't see that email or it went to spam or you deleted it. So if you or your agency isn't aware of that process, reach out to us now and we can work with you. We want to get that accomplished because we're looking at a 3 or 4 year period of how your organization responds to those surveys. We put it online almost 4 years ago, and what we're sharing is that information and how you're scoring year over year to OPB, to say to OPB, here are the efforts we're making for the agencies. Here's what they're learning. Here's how they're enhancing or hardening and updating their loss control efforts. Again, because they're trying to figure out ways to evaluate how an agency's doing, what their premiums are, and how much we're billing them. So this tool can help you have a seat in all of that, give us your input and your insight, and help us modify it, make it better and easier to utilize year over year. So Tim, Dan, thank y'all for that. I'm going to switch gears. We're almost an hour into this. We've made great progress. You've heard from a lot of the program people. You've learned a lot, hopefully, about programs. Hopefully it was not a lot of new info, but we give you some updates on things that are happening and they're important to all of us. But I think one of the most important things becomes, why are we doing this? Why is any of this risk management stuff important to you and to me? And me is the Division of Risk Management Services. Why do we do this on a daily basis? Well, part of it is the fact that we're trying to help you manage your claims, slow down claims, understand your claims, get them resolved and paid. And also premiums, whatever your premiums are, a lot of that ties into what we bill you for your individual program each year. So you need to understand where that comes from and how to help maybe lower it over time. And then it's real simple beyond that. It's all about money, money, money. What are you paying? Why are you paying it? And how can we help you understand it and reduce it? So that brings me to the next slide. We've been very fortunate in working with the governor's office and the Office of Planning and Budget over the past several periods. We've been fortunate as a state to have a surplus, and we've been beyond blessed to have OPB leadership say, we want to include you in understanding how we might be able to use some of those surplus dollars to protect our state employees, use some of those dollars to reduce our outstanding liabilities, because each year as we have claims and we don't get them resolved, that creates a liability that financially we have to account for. When I started in 2014, the liability for all these programs was about 800 million. From 14 to 16, it went over $1 billion. And so we started trying to make sure we had a story available for OPB to say, if there's ever funding available, we would like to have additional funding to settle some of the really old cases. So we were capable of doing that. OPB showed some trust in us, and you'll see on this chart, back in June of 22, we were appropriated money for the work comp program. But Kim and her team jumped on that. They took that opportunity to settle a bunch of old cases. They settled over 650 old workers' comp claims. We were appropriated and we spent over $150 million. And so that's helped the Workers' Comp Trust Fund, and you'll hear more about that in a second. And then in June 30 of 24, because we had a program, a plan available, and OPB saw that we were able to execute on it, they came back and said, look, we still have resources, surplus dollars, that if your programs can utilize them, we're interested in giving you some appropriations. So we, again, had a story ready to go on how we would use money to settle not only more work comp cases, but hopefully resolve a lot of the old liability cases. And then we talked about the property trust fund and how the money in that trust fund had been dwindling down, partly because the excess insurance market that we're going to talk about had changed dramatically. Premiums were going up because of all the windstorms and the earthquakes and the fires across the world, not just the state of Georgia. And the property trust fund is just so volatile. It takes one big event and it can really cause a lot of money to repair, windstorm or hurricane or tornado damage across the state. So we were able to say to OPB, if you give us money, we can spend it diligently to protect the state assets, state employees, and reduce future liabilities. So you'll see on this screen, they handed us $250 million in appropriations during 24. Today, we're pleasantly, shockingly in conversations with OPB to say, fortunately, there are additional dollars potentially available to risk management. And so we're, again, laying out for them what we've done with the money that they gave us and what our plans are if they should be able to give us additional dollars. So you'll see in the June 30, 25 column, there's serious talk about appropriating additional dollars to our programs to help shore up our trust fund balances. And all of that's critical to the next few slides. These next few slides tie into the types of insurance we make available to you. And so those appropriations that are going into our trust funds and helping shore up those trust fund balances impact what I have to charge for insurance premiums. So let's talk about that for a couple of moments. We provide you two different types of insurance, right? The state is what we call a quasi self-insurer. So we take the first portion of a lot of different claims and we pay it out of our trust funds called the retention. And then we buy commercial insurance above that. So this chart tells you a little bit about what those types of coverages are. The top section is titled DOAS. Those are the premiums and programs that you're familiar with. The work comp program. Work comp program provides coverage for your injuries to your employees when they have medical or lost wages. Liability, there's 2 or 3 different buckets there we talked about. The State Tort Claims Act, those are the negligence-based programs that, because of the statute, we know what we're going to pay for those cases. It could be up to $1 million per person. And if there's an accident where 10 people are involved and the state's negligent in injuring them, the most we would pay is $3 million. So we have that program, and then we have federal cases. So let's say an employment related case or a civil rights case. There's no statute that says you can cap that loss. It's a federal claim. So we provide that coverage, but we also have to buy excess insurance above it. And we'll talk about that. And then there's a separate liability coverage that provides some coverage from a contractual standpoint to our state authorities. So all those are liability components that we provide. Property, you're familiar with probably most of these. We insure your buildings and content under the state-owned building and property, state-owned building and personal property agreement. And then we insure a lot of other stuff like inland marine, fine art, your go-karts, ATVs under what we call SPAR, the Special Property All Risk Program. And then APD, if you have a agency that wants to insure the physical damage to your vehicles, we can insure that for you. So all those property coverages are included. And then we insure the cyber liability through a cyber insurance program. So I bill you based on both of these buckets of coverage. The lower layer being the trust fund programs that are the DOAS coverage. And then on top of that, we hedge our bets by buying commercial insurance. So you'll see that list. Workers' comp, we buy what is called excess work comp. So when Kim manages a claim, she's paying for the first $5 million of every employee injury. But we have had 3 or 4 cases in our time that were quadriplegic cases, brain injury cases, and a couple of them are in the millions of dollars. We have a $12 million claim and a $10 million claim. And so once we hit that $5 million max, this excess insurance comes in and pays the rest of that until that employee either returns to work or they pass away or their claim is resolved. So that's critical insurance for us. And then liability, you heard me talk about the federal cases. We have excess coverage purchased across 4 different carriers that make sure that we have enough available insurance should we have a really horrible liability case. And we do. We have 3 or 4 active alive today. Some of them are wrongful conviction type cases. We have some cases from Department of Human Services where a foster parent may have injured a child. So we have a couple of cases on our table today that have demands from a plaintiff firm as much as $40 million. So we have to think about how we insure those. A part of it's going to come out of our trust fund, and a part of it's going to come out of the commercial excess coverage. And then the next few lines talk about property, marine, crime, terrorism, boiler, machinery. All of those are important as well. On the property program, we currently insure and pay the first 10 million of every claim out of the trust fund. So if you have a fire and it's $12 million worth of loss, I'm going to pay the first 10 million out of the trust fund. But then I have a tower of property coverage that's provided by domestic and international markets to help cover those losses. It's called shared and layered. So a market takes a piece of each level up to $1 billion worth of coverage. So you'll see our property program, we have 52 billion in state assets, probably another 13 million that we're paying if there's a loss and your agency loses income. So all that's critical for us to continue to be able to make sure that we're providing you coverage at the highest levels. So you have a chance to read that chart. Any questions, let us know. You'll see that we cover aircraft, watercraft, a lot of different pieces. So that's important because the next screen, I want to show you what the cost has been over time for those excess insurance pieces. You'll see in 19, we paid 20 million. And you'll notice that the biggest line here typically has been our property coverage, right? So our property coverage in 19 was 12 million. I'm sorry, property premium was 12 million. In 20, it went to 15, 21, it jumped to 21. And look, all the way over to 23 to 24, it went as high as 37 million. Now, that's because the domestic and international property insurance market changed because there were so many across the world cases that were billion-dollar losses. You think about all the fires, the hurricanes, the earthquakes that have happened. That impacts this property industry across the world. So it might not be that I've had a bunch of property claims, but the premiums associated with the capacity to provide that coverage is impacted for the state of Georgia. So this chart shows you that that property premium has gone up dramatically. If you look at the bottom, it means that our total fixed cost for this coverage has been jumping from 22% up to 22.5% the next year. 22 was a pretty interesting year. We had some positive results, but it didn't go up much. But look at 23 and 24. Those fixed costs jumped 20 to 25%. All of that is critical when we talk about this piece. What happened in 24 and 25? 24, you saw that huge increase, but in 25, we had a 3% reduction in our costs because that property market began to settle out. The carriers for a year and a half made some profit, so they decided not to charge us as much. And so that was critical for us. We saw our total fixed costs within the excess premiums drop a little bit. So that's important, and it ties into the next slide. When I'm trying to calculate the premium that we're going to charge you and share with OPB, we have to look at not only the fixed cost for those insurance pieces, but we also have to decide what is the money that's going to be required to pay out the open claims. At the end of each fiscal year, we have to account to OPB for the number of open claims that we have and what that liability is. So we do that by bringing in an actuarial firm and giving them data back to 1980s and say, help us determine what the liability is and then the dollars that we're going to need from a cash flow standpoint to pay those claims. So you'll notice here, this chart gives you the actuary's estimated liability for all open claims at the end of the fiscal year. So in 23, they said to us, for you to settle these 3,000 open cases, you're going to spend $867 million. And then for the liability program, if you add up general liability, auto, and tort, they said you're going to spend, close to $400 million to settle all those claims. So our total liability, even in 23, was $1.2 billion. But look what happened for 24. We took those appropriation dollars and we settled a bunch of claims. So our work comp liability dropped $150 million. But the liability program has continued without appropriations of any large amount and settlements of any large amount to grow. So that outstanding liability went up for the federal cases. It jumped 33 million, but for the tort cases, which have a cap, it came down 10 million. So in total, our state liability decreased $126 million. That's important. That's the kind of story that we need to continue to be able to show you as agencies and insureds and OPB as to what we're doing to control losses, how we're spending those appropriated dollars to get those losses and outstanding liabilities reduced. All of that ties to this page here. In the end, I'm putting those fixed costs of excess insurance and those outstanding liabilities for what we're going to have to pay over time into a premium calculation. And this chart shows you what we, DOES Risk Management, have billed in total your agencies across the years. So you'll notice that the work comp line has been extremely consistent. We've billed $105 million since 2021. Look at liability. The liability program, as we've seen that exposure increase and that liability grow, last year we made the decision and we started billing $60 million. So we had an increase in that premium. And then look at the property program. The property program for years was billing, between 9 and 12 million in premium. In 21, 22, and 23, we're billing, an average of 11 million. But because of those excess costs increasing and that market becoming so volatile, some of you will remember we bumped the property premium up 343%. So you'll see in 24, we billed 47 million. We're going to bill the same for 25. But what we hope is that with these dollars coming into the property trust fund through the appropriation process, we'll be able to stabilize those property premiums, manage the losses, and not bill you more in the coming periods. And then below that, you'll see it's been pretty consistent as to what we've billed you for agencies that carry business interruption or SPAR, or those agencies that have the APD coverage. So I say all of that to give you a full picture of what it means to be in risk management and be billing you for those coverages as a state agency. So in the end, it leads me to the question, why is this important? Why does risk management matter? It matters to you and I because we're trying to protect our coworkers. We're trying to protect the assets of our organization. It's important to OPB because they've got to figure out the dollars that are spent in this arena and how do they control it, manage it, account for it, and to make sure that we've got the proper trust fund balances at the end of each fiscal year and hopefully for the foreseeable future. So those conversations are very important. So we want you, after hearing this presentation, some of you have been with us a long time, to tell us what it is you need from risk management. How can we help you meet the mission and the vision of your individual agency? And more importantly, help make your job easier on a day-to-day basis. Tell us about it. Email us. Let us know what's happening within your organization. What do you want us to continue to discuss in these future town halls? Are we going over the same stuff and your eyes are bugging out of your head? Are there exposures and things that you're facing that we're not addressing? This week, I was on a call with an agency who puts on a huge fair, and they're concerned about safety. So they work with their local community resources, and the police department's bringing in drones, and they're going to run and fly drones over this fairground over an 11-day period. Some of you may have been to the Georgia National Fair. It's a wonderful event. But this year, their risk management people reached out and said, hey, we've never done this. We're going to do it. And what does it mean to us? So we were able to get on the phone and discuss that with them and help them with some resources around how to make sure that they're protecting their agency and the state in the event one of those drones flies out of the air and knocks somebody's popcorn out of their hand. So make sure you're reaching out to us and letting us know how we can help you. What do you need from us? I'm going to stop sharing and tell you that we have a ton of resources. I'm going to show you for just one moment, and I'm sure you know about this and see it, but we have a wonderful DOAS website. In that website, there's a division drop down that takes you to risk management. Please make sure that you know how to get to this. It's doas.ga.gov. Drill down to risk management, and it's going to talk to you about all the programs you've heard about today. We're going to tell you again more about who all we serve, but more importantly, how do we do that? What are our resources? So you've got buttons here to click on that tell you more about each of these programs, the loss control program and all the components of it. You can come over to insurance services and learn more about each of the individual insurance lines. And then there are all sorts of policies and procedures and resources to help you do your job. So it sounds simple, but I want to make sure that you're aware of it, that you're out there utilizing it, and that if you're not, you're reaching out to us and asking us, what is it that you can do for us? Here's what we need. Send us your feedback. When I have somebody in the field that's doing a good job, when I have somebody that's in the field and doesn't show up, let me know. Give me all of the feedback you can about how risk management is supporting you. And we'll take them all. We appreciate the feedback and hope to be there for you. Last comment or two would be schedule a meeting. Town halls are going to happen, twice a year, maybe quarterly. Our loss control folks are in the field a lot. Kim and the return to work folks are in the field a lot. But if you need us, we're there. We're capable of meeting with you virtually. we travel, have wheels, we'll get there to you. So tell us what you need when you want us. We're able to help you out and happy to get there. And again, use the website. So that being said, I'm at 3:10 and want to give you back some time, but want to make sure we're not missing anything. I can't say that I see anybody with a raised hand, and I don't see any additional questions in the chat. Hopefully you see that I posted Chad Sedilek's name for center risk, but if there's nothing else, we'll depart and we'll leave you with the message that yes, please reach out to us at any point in time for what you need to help you with your risk management needs. All right. Anybody else have anything to add, from the program directors to the loss control folks, IT? Hearing and seeing none, thank you all. Appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you in the coming weeks and months. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Wade.
Yep. I do have a question. We can answer these as we go. Jill asks, how do we handle public liability protection for police officers? Again, we provide liability coverage for those folks as they perform their duties as an employee of your agency. We also have the indemnification program. Make sure that you check that out on the website. We can reach out to you and provide you information about those benefits. But again, also reach out to your loss control representative and let us know what we can do for you. So Jill, if you have any other specific questions, shoot me an email. We're happy to look at it and help you answer any questions you may have. But thank you for the question. Anyone else? All right. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Take care.